Well, hello, everybody. My name is Dan Skip Allen, and once again, you're watching the Top 5 Weekly. This week, we decided to discuss, in honor of Moana, Disney animated features. We're going to hear a lot about Disney princesses in this episode as well. So, strap in, get ready, sit down, relax. I want to introduce you to my panelists, starting with Andrew.
Hello, everyone. I'm once again back here on Top 5 Weekly. Glad to be so. And I'm talking about Disney films, something that was part of my childhood immensely because the first films I probably ever watched were Disney films. I remember the good old days of the VHS tapes that came in those clamshell packagings, which I actually still have all of them from when I was a child.
Steven?
Yeah, I'm Stephen Billings. I'm the same way Andrew. My parents tried to sell them in a yard sale, and I said, fuck you, parents. Taking them back. And, yeah, Disney show.
And our newest guest on the show, Maggie. I've been trying to get her on the show for quite a while, and I'm glad she finally joined us.
Hi. I think like everyone else here, I grew up with Disney, only the fact that I think since I was born, my soul has been sold to the Walt Disney Corporation. So it's something that I will always love. And
Yeah.
I have like a tattoo of Disney, so
Oh, wow.
rebranded.
Oh, wow. I think we're all in the same boat. I'm just a little older than you guys, so I got my a little bit older Disney films than y'all did. You got more of the modern ones. But they have really been kicking ass over the last 4 or 5 years, and then in the 90s they were just killing it in the 90s. So let's get started, starting with Andrew. Andrew, what is your number 5 Disney animated feature?
For my number 5 Disney animated feature, I decided to use this position to talk about a film that is one of my personal favorites. It may not be on everyone's top 5 or top 10 or however, but it is one of my favorites, and that is Lady and the Tramp from 1955. I remember watching this constantly on VHS as a kid. I don't even think I own the official VHS. I think it was recorded off of television, and I just watched it over and over again. And I even watch it today, and I love it so much. It's kind of a tale about two dogs from two sides of the different track. One is kind of a proper lady, comes from a proper home, and one is a tramp who comes from the streets, and he lives on the streets. He's a stray, and there's kind of a culture clash of two different worlds. But Disney's kind of utilizing this dog or anthropomorphic animal type world to have a social commentary about rich and poor and how they can come together and live well together.
Yeah, that's a great one. That I definitely remember Lady and the Tramp as a kid. Steven, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is actually the film that kind of saved Disney from that. I'm sorry, Lady and the Tramp kind of was a bomb back in that time. And we actually talked about this on the last episode of the Film Club Movie Show, Plug. And that is 1961's 101 Dalmatians. And, like I said, Disney was not in the best place at the time, and they really cut the costs. It was like $4 million to make this movie, and it ended up making like $225 million. So that's a pretty good, successful movie, and I've always really loved it. I bought it not too long ago and watched it for the first time in a long time, and it's just got this charm to it that I really love. And to me, just the voice acting and just the way the animation changed, that kind of changed Disney for a while there with kind of the way they outlined their animation just really just changed the game. And just, I've always, and out of all the animal dog Disney films, this is my personal favorite. So, and Cruella de Vil is one of the best villains in Disney's lore. So,
Yeah, you guys really did a nice discussion of 101 Dalmatians on the Film Club Movie Show episode, I think 36. Definitely, if you haven't seen that episode, these guys do a great job on their show. All right, Maggie, what is your number 5? I can't wait.
My number 5 is a toss-up. I think I have to go with Alice in Wonderland, which is Disney's version of the Lewis Carroll classic. It's not as dark as most people like to think of Alice in Wonderland, but in terms of art style, it's bright, it's colorful. The girl who plays Alice, I forget her name, but she also did Wendy in the Peter Pan. She's phenomenal. I love how she's very much the straight man, which you don't really see in child characters. And again, bright, colorful, and it's just a zany, wild ride that keeps my imagination going.
Yeah, I mean, before Disney started doing the live action remakes, some of those were just like Andrew said, you just watch them over and over. You just couldn't get enough of them, and Alice in Wonderland was one of those. My number 5 is a movie that, when I heard that one of my favorite singers of all time and from one of my favorite bands of all time was doing the music, I was just like, oh man, this is going to be great. And I didn't know if it could live up to the hype, because that's, you had Elton John doing other ones and so forth. So Phil Collins did all the music. And my number 5 is Tarzan. I absolutely love this version of Tarzan. And you have Tom Hulce. I don't know if anybody knows who Tom Hulce is. You might if you watch Amadeus. He is Mozart Amadeus, and he plays the voice of Tarzan in Tarzan. And you also have Minnie Driver as Jane, and Glenn Close as Kala, the gorilla, and the lady gorilla. And actually, I screwed that up, my guys. It's Tony Goldwyn is the voice of Tarzan.
Yeah, Tom Hulce did Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I screwed. It's Tony Goldwyn is the voice of Tarzan. I screwed that. I got all the names right here, right in front of me, and I didn't even read my notes. But yeah, I love Tarzan. When it goes to the music of Phil Collins, it just is exciting. At the beginning of the movie and everything. Just that's one of my kind of literary characters that I really enjoyed was Tarzan as a kid. So, but we're gonna get to Tom Hulce before this is over. All right, Andrew, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is yet again another film that's near and dear to my heart that I watched incessantly, and that would be The Jungle Book. I know recently they did a live-action kind of adaptation of it, and that went over very, very well. I very much enjoyed that. But this film, when I watched it as a child, I loved the music. I loved the animals. I don't know what it was with Disney and talking animals, but they just captured my imagination as a child. And I always loved the character of Baloo. I always had kind of a fascination with these talking bear characters when I was a kid. And then watching it now as an adult, you realize that it's more about kind of humanity and, Mowgli having to return to humanity, even after having lived in the animal kingdom. And when you watch it as a child, you don't get that. You kind of think the ending is rather sad. But as an adult, you watch it and you're like, wow, that's kind of sweet and heartfelt and meaningful.
Yeah, no, everybody when I was a kid, everybody was just bare necessities, singing the bare necessities. It was such a catchy song at the time, and so everybody loved The Jungle Book. That was just a fantastic film. All right, Steven, you're waving your hand. I don't know what's going on over there. Tell us.
No, I was just trying to get you to stop singing. So my number 4 is one that, to me, obviously I can't recall every Disney movie that's ever been made, but out of the ones I can remember and out of the ones that I've seen, the one that sticks in my mind that has one of the greatest stories and a lot to say is 1998's Mulan. It's just a very great movie about feminism, and it's like G.I. Jane for Disney. It's like, it's pretty cool. A girl that's father is, possibly going to go drafted into the war, and he's sick and can't do it, so she takes his place and pretends to be a guy, and then goes to war. And it's like, it's an amazing story. And I can't wait for the live action that they're going to do for this one. Because out of all the Disney films, the first one that came to my mind was Mulan would be a fantastic live action. And then you got Eddie Murphy that did the voice of the dragon that follows along, which Eddie Murphy's awesome. You know, he plays all these different characters, just like Robin Williams, very good comedic actor that can do great, you know, impressions and stuff. But yeah, it's just a fantastic story, and it's a beautiful and culture and all that stuff. It's a fantastic characters and everything. So
yeah, Mulan was one of those ones that nobody saw coming, that Disney would start transitioning to different generations and different kind of pockets of the world and different kinds of and that, I think Mulan was one of the first ones they did that with. They start later on, they would go with like Pocahontas, and obviously this year Moana, and then we did the Prince and the Frog, or Princess and the Frog, or the whatever it's called, a couple of years ago. But they started kind of changing up what they were doing for different kind of people from different backgrounds. All right, Maggie, what is your number 4?
Well, going back to Mulan, unpopular opinion, but I prefer Mushu over Donkey. Like,
what?
I think
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Donkey gets annoying super fast. Meanwhile, Mushu is just in one movie. So, but anyways, number 4 is a tie. It's between Hunchback of Notre Dame and Cinderella. And Hunchback of Notre Dame, I think it has one of the most brilliant scores ever done in the Disney film. Hellfire is insanely dark and sexual and intense, which you don't find that a lot, and I love it. God Help the Outcast is a beautiful, beautiful song, which doesn't get enough love. And aside from the gargoyles, I think it, captures the tone of the original book. And then Cinderella, for nostalgic reasons, I love the movie when I was a child, and the silver 1950s era of Disney animation is my favorite. And again, it's insanely bright and colorful. The songs are just so catchy, and I think Cinderella doesn't get enough credit in terms of Disney princesses being strong.
No, I mean, well, the movie that came out this last year, Cinderella, made piles of money, so I think enough people give Cinderella some respect. But actually, I'm going to have to agree with Maggie, because my number 4 is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and
Yay!
Tom Hulce plays Quasimodo. I can't believe I screwed that up, but yeah, Tom Hulce plays Quasimodo, and then we got Demi Moore as Esmeralda, and Tony Jay as Frollo. I'm a huge, these guys, we talked horror movies, we talked monster movies in the past, and one of my favorite horror movies of all time is The Silent Hunchback of Notre Dame with Lon Chaney. And I'm just so fascinated by that character. And so when I saw that they were doing a Disney animated, my hopes are high that it was going to be good. And boy, was it good. I absolutely love the fact that they went with kind of like Universal Monsters, because it's technically not owned by Universal, and Disney did do their own version of it. So it was neat to see them do such a classic Monsters character. And once again, they knocked it out of the park. I absolutely love The Hunchback of Notre Dame. All right. So with that being said, Stephen, go ahead. Tell the people out there listening what your thoughts on Moana are. And obviously, this is spoiler-free in case anybody, including people on the panel, that have not seen Moana.
All right. Well, I got to check out Moana the other day, and going into it, I'm always in for another Disney animated film. I prefer Pixar because I feel like Pixar leaves a little bit more desired for the more adults. But some of the more recent Disney films, I love Big Hero 6. I love Wreck-It Ralph's pretty good. I like Wreck-It Ralph, but Moana, I really thought it was a very beautiful. The songs were great. For the most part, I really liked it, but I do think that it was lacking in some heart for me personally. It's not one of the most connected. Most Disney movies, I can get very connected, and I get the feels, and I just feel like it was lacking in that somewhat. But other than that, The Rock is really good. He actually sings pretty. I mean, I'm sure they did a lot of editing on it, but it's pretty good. The Rock's pretty good, and the character is really funny, and I love his tattoos. You'll really love his tattoos. But I think most people will really like it. I just thought it was lacking in some heart, but other than that, I think it was still a good time.
Now, I agree with Stephen a lot on what he said. I mean, this is one of the top 3 animated films of the year, in my opinion. It's, we got a hell of an Oscar race this year for Best Animated Feature. I think we got a 3-horse race. Moana is really good. I mean, what I was taken aback by was the animation style as a whole. I just felt like you're in the movie. I mean, when you're watching this movie, you feel like these people look real. I mean, Disney has come so far with their animation and mixing their computer animation and their hand-drawn animation, and it's just like, wow. I mean, I highly recommend you see this in 3D or IMAX or whatever version you can see it in, the best possible version, because it'll make the film that much better. And Steven's right. The Rock, there's a reason why they got The Rock for this role. They wanted some star power in there, and his tattoos have a whole world of their own, a whole life of their own. But it's about nature. I think this whole story is basically about nature and how we got to stop destroying our world that we live in. And in culture, it's about culture. I mean, trying to preserve some of these great cultures. And this is like an amalgamation of what? Hawaiian culture, Stephen?
Yeah, Samoan and
Hawaiian. These kind of island cultures. I mean, they're disappearing, and it's sad because they have so much tradition and so much just beliefs. And sometimes, I'm a fan of Survivor, and when you go to these islands and these different places, they really appreciate the places that they go on Survivor, and they sell up on that. They talk about that kind of stuff. I'll tell you what, it is a huge see it for me. One of my favorite films of the year, Moana. I absolutely love it. You guys are gonna love it, Andrew and Maggie. Hope we didn't give any spoilers.
I have a question. In terms of songs, where does this rank in the Disney musical?
I would say out of the more, I would say, I mean, look, and this isn't because I hate Frozen. I think the songs in this movie were better than the Frozen movie, to me personally. I think they're more unique, and I think that they're just as catchy. Especially the one that The Rock does called "You're Welcome." I really loved. And then there was one in the middle, like right towards the beginning, that was like all their own ships and everything, and it's one of the main. I think it's in the trailer. You hear it in the trailer, but I personally thought the songs were really good. I don't think it's better than the early '90s stuff because that's what I grew up with and that's what I love. But it's still one of the better, more modern Disney song movies that I've heard recently.
I have to absolutely agree. I like the songs in this much more than Frozen. I just could not get into the songs in Frozen. I couldn't get into that film at all, as a matter of fact. But I'm an evil person, so we won't talk about that.
Me too, buddy. I don't care for it either.
All right, we're gonna go back to Andrew. Andrew, what is your number 3? I think we're getting into the nitty gritty now. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, we're getting down to it. Speaking of that '90s kind of golden age, I'm going to start with a big one, and it's probably going to be higher on a lot of other people's lists, but I'm going to go with Beauty and the Beast. Came out in 1991, I believe, and as we all know now, there's going to be a live-action adaptation of it, which everyone is extremely hyped and anxious for, myself included, just out of pure curiosity's sake. This is a film that I believe is based on a classic literature as well as several of the Disney films. I know there had been several Beauty and the Beast live-action adaptations before. There had been films, there had been television series, and this film in particular I watched a lot as a child, specifically for Robin Williams, who I was a huge fan of my entire life up until his unfortunate passing. And Robin Williams is in Aladdin. My bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, wait, what?
I'm losing my mind here. This is what happens. This is what happens. See, Dan, you're rubbing off on me in a wrong way. What am I thinking about? Beauty and the Beast, classic story of the monster who was really kind at heart, but doesn't really know how to show it because he thinks the world's going to reject him because of his monster exterior. And it's kind of a classic human theme type thing where a lot of people have a lot of self-esteem issues and things of that nature, and they don't think people will accept them for who they truly are, so they put up a facade. And it's a classic story, and it's immensely popular still.
Yeah, I'm sure a couple of us will be talking about that before this is all over. All right, Steven, go ahead with your number 3.
I have a feeling either me and Andrew might have the same top 3 because I have a feeling because we were like the same age. So my number 3 is Beauty and the Beast. It is, even though it is my number, you could almost say my top 3 is maybe all my number 1s because it's hard to pick between the 3 that are at the top. But I would say out of the 3, my next 3, this might have the better overall collection of songs. I think Beauty and the Beast might have the best songs. And, of course, if you didn't know, it was nominated for Best Picture 1991, I believe. So, it's considered by many to be one of the greatest animated movies of all time. And if you've not seen the most recent Angela Lansbury singing the Tale as Old as Time, you should because it'll make you cry. But it's just a beautiful film. It's beautifully animated. So many great characters. Lumiere, the candlestick, singing "Be Our Guest," which is it's just so much. I bought the 25-year anniversary. It's behind me. I love that movie. I've watched it at least 3 times since I bought it. So it's one of my favorites. I think it's a lot of people's favorites. That new trailer for that new live action is the highest viewed trailer in history right now. So people like it.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that before this is all over. All right, Maggie.
Just looking over this list, I realized that I have the oldest list ever, and I think I might be the youngest person on here. But my number 3 is Fantasia. If you just want to listen to the most beautiful scores ever recorded in human history and just watch the most stunning animation of all time, watching Fantasia. This was Walt Disney's dream project back in the 1940s. Like, this was his dare because he believed that animation can be elevated into an art form, which it is, and how it's moving pictures and moving artwork, and it's just a fantastic watch. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but if you're a film buff or an animation buff, just watch this movie because, again, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, I don't know if they do it at Walt Disney or Disney World, where don't they do like a fireworks show to the music or Fantasia or something like that? Am I wrong on that?
I know Hollywood Studios is very much a Fantasia-oriented place. Like, they have Sorcerer Mickey. In the Great Movie Ride, they do have a Fantasia segment, so they probably do.
Yeah, I thought there was something involving Fantasia down there, but no. I think I'm sure Mark Ellis ain't going to be watching this. So Mark Ellis, you're wrong.
I'll tell you, Julian on my show is right there with you. He loves Fantasia. It's one of his favorite. So
Mark Ellis hates it. That's why I'm saying he's probably not going to watch the show, but he absolutely hates Fantasia for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's
loss.
Yeah, it really is his loss.
Didn't they do another one called Fantasia 2000 or something?
What they did is they re-upped the animation. They did the animation and made it a little bit more crisp and clear and released it. They've released all of their movies over the years on various forms on TV and theaters and DVD and Blu-ray. So we've got so many different opportunities to see them.
I know they recently got rid of that one segment in the Pastoral Symphony where there's a racist zebra, I think it was. But yeah, they definitely do like re-edit and re-enhance them.
Yeah.
It's just on Blu-ray, which sucks.
Oh, they haven't done a Blu-ray of it yet?
No, they don't. I have the DVD copy along with Fantasia 2000 as like a double disc, which I'm not a fan of.
Oh, okay. All right, well, my number 3, I'm sure eventually this is going to come up on some other folks' lists, but I got it at number 3. As a kid, I think everybody just loved this film. I mean, I was a teenager when this film came out, and, you know, one of the greatest voiceover performances in the history of voiceover performances, and God rest his soul, rest in peace, Robin Williams, but Aladdin is a phenomenal film. Whether it's an animated film, whether it's a Disney film, it is just a great film, and it's going to go down as one of the greatest films of all time. And you have to be a complete moron not to have it on your list of best Disney animated films. I mean,
there you go again, calling people morons.
You know, I mean, but I mean, obviously, people, different backgrounds and upbringing is going to have different lists and why different films mean something to them. But yeah, we had Aladdin, obviously, played by Robbie. What's his name here? Robbie
Hart from Wedding Singer.
No, I got it right here. It's
Full House.
Yeah. Well, my notes are all jumbled up here. Right?
That's why you do memory exercises before, and you say them out loud to yourself, and then you just remember after.
But we got Iago. We know Gilbert Gottfried is Iago, and Robin Williams is Aladdin, and we got Jonathan Freeman as Jafar. It's just such a great film, and this is one of the first ones where Disney started like branching out to like they did the Middle East and genies and that sort of stuff, and then later on they would do like Little Mermaid and Mulan and all these, and that's why the '90s, I think, the classics, you know, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Pinocchio, some of those classics are phenomenal, but they kind of hit a lull for a while there. In the '90s, they really picked it back up and just hit home run after home run after home run in the '90s, kind of like Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa. But
that's not a good comparison.
That's not a good comparison, Dan.
That was fake. That was fake, though.
They were juicing.
I know. All right, never mind. Let's get off of baseball. But I love Aladdin. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it. It's just such a great film. So let's go back to Andrew. I'm sure these guys are going to say Aladdin or something similar to it on their number 2.
My number 2, Dan kind of stole my thunder, and I kind of gave it away with my earlier flub, is Aladdin. It is a film that I watched a lot as a child. I remember singing along with the songs. I remember even today I sometimes bust out in an Aladdin song just randomly. I get a lot of weird looks in public, but it tends to happen quite frequently. I blame Disney. I blame Disney for all of that. But it is a wonderful film. Like I mentioned earlier, Robin Williams is a true standout. He was one hell of an actor in, I think, several genres, including, of course, animation as well. And apparently his recording of the genie is so legendary for being so wild and so crazy that you can almost feel bad for the animator who had to animate all of his kind of crazy, hysterical ramblings with the genie. And it's a film that I'm very curious whether it would be made today, in today's world, considering the international political situation that goes on around the world with the Middle East and things of that nature. But I'm also very curious whether this will eventually get a live-action film adaptation, because Disney is seemingly going forward nonstop with their live-action film adaptations.
They announced it.
They announced it?
Didn't Guy Ritchie said that he was directing it?
Yes.
I know Jon Favreau's doing The Lion King.
Why?
Guy Ritchie.
I'll talk about it later.
Guy Ritchie, that's going to be interesting. For those of you who know who Guy Ritchie is, his editing, it may not do very, very well for a Disney live-action film, but it's going to be curious. It'll be interesting to say the least.
Instead of Gilbert Gottfried as the bird, it'll be like it'll be Jason Statham like cussing out somebody or something.
It'll be Mark Strong, Jason Statham, all those guys. So basically, the whole cast of Snatch and other films.
Brad Pitt, yeah.
And I got I looked at my notes again. It's Scott Wenger as the voice of Aladdin, and Princess.
That's the only thing he's done, I think. So
Princess.
He played TJ's boyfriend on Fuller House.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry, forgot.
And Princess Jasmine is Linda Larkin. I just wanted to get that out there for Aladdin. But all right, go ahead, Stephen. What's your?
As I said, Andrew's just going to copy. We know. We grew up. We know. It's the same. We're the same guy right now. Aladdin, my number 2. It's hard. Like I said, these last 3 are basically number 1s for me. But I had to pick which one that I thought was the better overall movie. So right now, I'm going with Aladdin because it has, to me, it has my favorite song, which is A Whole New World. I would sing it for you, but we don't have time. And of course, Genie is maybe the greatest voiceover character of all time. Like Rob Williams did something that probably nobody else will ever do as good as him. And nobody's ever Disney doesn't let people do what they want to do. They control everything anyway. But it's just a magical film. There's literally magic in it. It's got great characters. I don't know what they're gonna do to try to do a live action with this. It's the same with another movie. I don't know what they're gonna do, but it's just a very all around well paced, hilarious film. And go Aladdin.
Yeah, and we also don't want you to break the computer screens with your voice, Stephen. But yes, go Aladdin. Maggie, what is your number 2?
Cool pick, but it's Sleep. Again, it's part of my childhood. I think it's my favorite Disney princess film ever, and it's known for having the lowest amount of the Disney princess in it. I think Aurora's in like 12 or 18 minutes of the film. I know she's in it lower than Dumbo, or was it Speaking Lines? Anyways, art style in Sleeping Beauty is, I think, the best art style ever. It's very geometric. It's very Middle Ages art style. And I remember having the VHS of it and just watching the movie just to see the behind the scenes and like all the animators talking about how this was like a dream come true in terms of just animating. It has my favorite Disney princess singing voice, Mary Costa, who is just a phenomenal opera singer. Best Disney villain in terms of Maleficent, Eleanor Audley just nails out of the park, and you can tell how much fun she is having being an evil, evil person, unlike Angelina Jolie, who fucked it all up. Thanks a lot. And then also, this gets a lot of shit for not having a female protagonist. Like, everyone says Aurora does nothing and that she's a pointless main character. But actually, it's the 3 good fairies who are in it the most, who get shit done, are the most active, and they're 3 frumpy old ladies. Like, this would not be made. Like, no one would watch it. And I think it's severely underrated in terms of, like, feminist Disney films.
Yeah, you don't want to mention the Blue Fairy around Christian Harloff, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But now Maleficent, one of the greatest villains. I mean, I think you could put Maleficent on the list of one of the greatest villains of all time. I would what? If you had a list of the top 10 greatest villains of all time, I would venture a guess that people would have her as one of the top 10. I sure would. But
I think because she's just having so much fun and she just loves being a villain, and that's just like so amazing to watch, and like it's enticing, and it's just oozing with just how much she just loves being a villain, which you don't see that much.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. All right, I'm gonna go with Stephen and Andrew's number 3 for my number 2, Beauty and the Beast. A Tale as Old as Time. Oh God, what a great film! I mean, you guys said so much about this film. It's just like, what can I say? But like, run down some of these voices. Robbie Benson is the voice of the Beast, and Prince, the Prince and the Beast. Belle is Paige O'Hara, and Lumiere is, you might, if you're a fan of Law and Order, Jerry Orbach played the voice of Lumiere, and obviously Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Potts, and Maurice Alex Everhart as Maurice. But it's just it's the thing about Beauty and the Beast to me. What I got out of it is, it doesn't matter what you look like or what your upbringing is or what your background is. If you have a good heart and you care about people, that's all that should matter in the world. And I think that translated to the people watching it, the Oscar voters, everybody, because this is the only animated movie, non-Pixar, to be nominated for Best Picture. And it literally, I tell you what, in today's era, you never know. I mean, if that Beauty and the Beast that comes out next year is anything close to being as good as this Beauty and the Beast, I'll tell you what, you might see an Oscar nomination for that. No, you don't think so? I mean, with that cast,
No.
McGregor and Emma Watson.
I think I'm going to look at it as it's literally a copy of the animated movie, and it doesn't deserve it.
Well,
and if it's a copy of the animated movie, we're still going to nitpick about it.
Well, yeah, but think about Jungle Book. Everybody's, there's no way they could do that. And Jon Favreau killed the Jungle Book. Killed the Jungle Book. And
to be fair, not a lot of people like the Jungle Book except for, Andrew and myself.
I like the Jungle Book.
I love the Jungle Book.
I just, you can only have a list of 5. So, it just wasn't in my top 5. But I just think that Beauty and the Beast is such an iconic story and an iconic tale that, it just transcends people of all walks of life. And that film really transcended it, and that's why it made so much money, and it got so many accolades when it came out. And it transcended being an animated film. Not too many do that. That's why I love it so much. That's why it's higher than Andrew and Stevens, because I just think it's just. If I didn't have this other one that meant more to me, I would have had Beauty and the Beast at number 1 on my list.
The Rocketeers.
Oh, how'd you know?
No, I'm sorry.
Mouse Detective. How'd you know it was the Grace Mountains?
I'm sorry.
No, but we're gonna go now. We're gonna, before we do our number 1s, we're gonna go to honorable mentions. Andrew, you got some honorable mentions?
Oh, I do indeed, Dan. There can be literally a whole show just on honorable mentions. I'm just going to go with a few of my favorites. The animated Robin Hood film was one I loved as a child. The Rescuers and Rescuers Down Under were 2 of the first films I think I saw that were Disney. Definitely The Rescuers Down Under, with, I believe, George C. Scott doing the poacher's voice, which I didn't even know who he was at the time. And classic ones like Dumbo. There's still a sequence in Dumbo that makes me cry even to today. Cinderella, of course. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, just for the classic sense. It is one of the earliest Disney films. But I won't go on much longer because I can go here all day. I'll leave some for you guys to talk about.
Thanks. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll just name a couple, too. There's a few that you guys put on your list, like The Jungle Book. It's hard for me not to put that on my – it was very hard because I literally can sit here. I was brainwashed as a kid listening. I can literally do all of King Louis's part at the end. That whole scene, I can do all that right off the top of my head. There's that. There's Treasure Planet was one that I really didn't – almost put that on my list, but I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, I'll leave some for you guys. There's a bunch. It's Disney's, of course, been part of my life and everybody's life for our whole life. You know, it's hard not to put everything on your list. But.
No, you're right about that. Maggie, what are your honorable mentions?
Peter Pan is definitely one that means a lot to me. It's my tattoo that I have. Pinocchio, also great. The scene where everyone's trained to donkeys still scares the shit out of me. I don't know about you guys. Snow White, Mulan, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. Those are ones that I love, but I didn't really grow up with until later in life. Zootopia is another one that I really enjoyed. I thought that was so unique, and that was a film that I thought was filler. Like, I was going to maybe pass on it and wait for Moana. Like, that was my big film, but then I saw Zootopia, and it's like, wow, I did not expect a movie about racial politics.
Yeah. There's so many that Disney, they're so good at putting these kinds of geopolitical topics in their films. Pixar, really great at that. But Disney also has done it, you know. And one that I would have liked to have put on my top 5, but you can only do 5, so I couldn't do 6, is Hercules. I really enjoyed Hercules. Some of the ones that don't get a lot of publicity is like Brother Bear, The Princess and the Frog. Some of the more ones that kind of slid under Bolt, Meet the Robin.
Treasure Planet.
Atlantis, that's another great one.
I mean, there's some that kind of slid under the radar in the later in the 2000s that weren't up to the caliber of the 90s. But lately, the last 3 or 4 years, they've been really coming back with Zootopia is. Oh, God, what a great film, Zootopia. And they killed it. They put it in March, and it just cleaned up the box office. I mean, when nobody was expecting anything from it. What a great – I'm looking forward to sequels for Zootopia. But, all right, Andrew, drum roll. Here we go.
Drum roll, please.
I have a feeling I know what your number 1 is.
Yes. I think Steven and I probably have the same number 1, and it's a good thing I'm getting to talk before him. So my number 1 is The Lion King. I love this movie very, very passionately. I watched it 3 times in theaters as a kid. I owned it on VHS. I own it now on Blu-ray. It is just really Disney at the height, in my opinion, of its
Powers?
Great 90s run. Yeah, the height of its power. The height of its 90 golden age power, for me personally. And it is essentially kind of Disney's animated animal version of Hamlet, I believe. I remember in an earlier episode, we couldn't figure out which Shakespearean play it was based on, and I think we settled on Hamlet, because that's what I think it is.
It's Hamlet. Yeah.
It's Hamlet. Stephen agrees. And it's a fantastic film. Great cast of voice actors, amazing music. I mean, that opening is iconic in so many ways. This film has also branched off into a very successful Broadway play, and it is just one of Disney's best films that they've possibly ever done.
Yeah, I'm going to let Steven say some more about that right now.
Yeah, I could do it. Yeah. But yeah, like Andrew said, it's I mean, I think actually Collider did a tournament thingy, a voting thing, and for Disney animated films a while back ago, and Lion King won. It's considered by most people, it's so beloved, and the songs, I think it personally is maybe the most gorgeous animated film of all time. Me personally. I mean, it's just every time I watch it, man, it just brings me back to my childhood. And Jonathan Taylor Thomas, other than Home Improvement, did a fantastic job as Simba. And then Matthew Broderick as the older Simba is awesome too. Of course, him and Nathan Lane are good friends. They did the producers together. And it's just great characters, great, fantastic animation. Songs, same guys. I can't think of the guy that's done all the songs through the 90s. What's his name? He's doing the new Beauty and the Beast too, coming back to do the song again.
Alan Menken?
Huh?
Alan Menken.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he did all the music and he just did, I think, Moana too. I think maybe. But it's just a perfect animated movie to me, and I might watch it after this episode, maybe.
Maggie, what is your number one?
For proof that I was actually born in the 90s and not 1946, my number one film is also The Lion King. It's not only my favorite Disney film of all time, it's my favorite movie of all time. I still have my Simba plushie. I owned all the terrible straight-to-video Lion King sequels, 1.5 and Simba's Pride.
Are you getting Lion Guard?
Well,
Are you getting Lion Guard?
Oh, yeah, that's that show. I haven't watched it yet. But, yeah, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with The Lion King. It was pretty much the only film I wanted to watch. It was the only ride I wanted to go on in Disney World. And I think it's a great movie that at the time was seen as Disney's B film. And Pocahontas was supposed to be like the brand new Beauty and the Beast. Like they had all their A staff, Alan Menken was writing the songs, and The Lion King was supposed to be like that cute little creative project. However, on it turned out. And going back to like the Lion King as Hamlet thing, there's this great video essay done by Brows Held High, which says it's more akin to Henry IV than Hamlet, which is really interesting. And again, everyone said it. It's just the perfect Disney film at the height of its powers, and I am not looking forward to the live-action reboot.
It's not live action.
It's going to be one animated film into another animated film. I don't understand it. I'd rather it be people in lion costumes than, computer animated, but whatever.
Yeah, that's... Well, I think Jon Favreau has enough credit built up that I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he can do this right. And my number one, and we have a sweep. It's Lion King. This is the first time on the top 5 weekly, and I think we've done somewhere close to 20-ish shows, in the neighborhood of 20 shows, that everybody on the show had the same number one film in the topic that we're talking about. That tells you something right now, that how the Lion King resonates with people of all walks of life, people from all ages, all upbringings. And obviously, the Lion King, we have Simba voiced by Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Steven said that already. Matthew Broderick. Mufasa. We all think of James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader, but he was also the voice of Mufasa. I mean, those two voices are just two of the most iconic voices of two characters in the history. I mean, next to Robin Williams playing Aladdin, I mean, those are two of the most iconic voice over acting characters in the history of movies. Obviously, we got Jeremy Irons. I mean, we know him from being the villain in one of the Die Hard films, but he is so great at playing Jafar in this, the evil lion in this film. Then he had the
Jafar?
Huh?
You said Jafar.
I mean, I got it right.
Scar.
You're
I was saying, who cares?
dyslexia.
I got it right here in my notes. It's Scar. I said Jafar because I had that Jonathan Freeman on my mind for being the voice of Jafar in Aladdin. But, Whoopi Goldberg, as one of the hyenas. Ernie Sabella and Nathan Lane as Timon and Pumbaa. Of course, the songs with those guys walking through the brush and just singing and stuff. I mean, it's just such an iconic, just awesome movie. I mean, the animation is beautiful. I mean, beautiful. Disney was really at the height of their hand-drawn animation with like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King. I think up until lately, they really hit a peak. Those are the biggest and the best of all time. And, they started turning it into more computer animation now with like Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen and Moana and these other films. But those two, I think, are the peak of their hand-drawn animation, in my opinion. But The Lion King is just such an amazing, amazing film. Everybody already talked about it. I'm just kind of going off on my own little tangent here because I love the film so much. And I might do the same thing Steven's going to do. After watching Beauty and the Beast, I might watch The Lion King. Or maybe I will watch The Lion King first. Who knows? But what a great job, you guys. I'll tell you what, I was glad I got everybody. I've been trying to get Maggie, like I said, for months now on the show. I knew she had a really good input on this topic. And thanks again, Maggie. Where can people find you in the future? Hopefully on future episodes of the Top 5 Weekly.
Hopefully. I would like to do this again because it was fun just gushing about Disney films. I don't do that enough in my life. But yeah, so far you can find me on Facebook as Maggie Ozanne. I have a Tumblr, Lady Penny Lane, and if you go UNCW, you might see me around. So,
yeah, we got another North Carolina man over here, Stephen Billings. Tell people where you can be found.
Hi. You can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings, or you can find me running Film Club Central on YouTube, and we do a lot of shows. We do the Film Club Movie Show. We do Not Another Geek podcast. We do Lights Camera News. I edit all the shows, but I almost forget all of them because there's so many. Yeah, and you'll find me singing Kuna Matata as we end the show.
Oh, God. And you know what? Steven, I know him enough to know he will be doing that. Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, and you can also find my YouTube channel at Capzilla Productions. I just posted my Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them review, and I'm also going to be doing a Criterion sale haul coming this week, as well as a Black Friday haul, because I was one of the crazy people who decided to go out Black Friday night instead of staying home and buying everything on Amazon for the same price.
Me too.
You guys just wanted to punch some people. I think that's what you guys just
I did.
Grab, let me get that masturbation of Christ. Let me get it. Oh, it's mine. No, I know how you guys are. But no, hey, I'm just happy to have all y'all on the show this week. And you can find me, Dan Skip Allen, on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, I co-host the Best Damn Movie Show podcast with my co-host, Daniela Spada. We just did a show this past week where we talk about all the latest box office movie news and reviews each week. And next week, we're going to be talking. We're going to do it a little early because we got some other topics coming up later in the month of December. So the very first week of December, we're going to do, it's in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I think it's a good time to do holiday movies, Christmas/Thanksgiving movies, and it's a broad topic. So you're gonna get your National Lampoons in there. I'm sure somebody will. But thank you everybody once again for being on, and good night.
It means no worries for the rest of your days.